In this video we're going to talk about SQL data called SQL data. SQL data is the data behind database websites. So from anything from Google, when you search Google, search for the word pens, you get search results. They're all part of a database holding data on the web pages, the title of the web page, which website it's from, and what the content is on each page. If, however, we go to Amazon, everything in Amazon is actually held in their database. So each product, the price, if we click on it, all the finer details, the stock level and things like that, it's all data held in database tables on their website. And here's a website I've been working on for a local choir. If you log in, all their concerts are in the database, and if we go to notices, the data often looks like a table of data, and you can actually see rows of data and columns of data, a bit like a spreadsheet. But databases are more strict than a spreadsheet, and the data can't be messed up. So SQL, pronounced SQL, is the database program language behind programming a relational database. A relational database holds the data in tables, and we're going to be showing you how MySQL works. It's free open source software, which means it's you don't have to pay for it, you can freely download it. It's provided free by the open source community, and there are two ways of using it. There's the command line interface, which we're going to show you today, and there's MySQL Workbench, which is another way in to see the data and be able to work with large amounts of SQL data all in one go. So SQL is structured query language, that's what it stands for. The main thing we do with this is create tables and then select data from the tables to view the data. We insert new rows into tables, we update the data in the tables, and we delete rows from the tables. So we're going to show you some syntax to be able to create a table. This is an example table we're going to create for a fruit bowl, and it's very simple, and we're going to add rows to it using this syntax, and then we're going to refine it a little bit with an ID column and explain why, and then we're going to select using the select statement to select data from it. So this is MySQL 5.7 command line client, and we're going to create a database. Let's put in the password first. My password is Fred, and then we're going to do create database. I'm going to call this database 1, semicolon. All these SQL commands are finished with a semicolon, which means end of line, and it's worked, so it says query OK, and then we're going to do use database 1. So that's the database we're currently using, and we switch to database 1, and we're going to create a table. So create table fruit bowl, and if I move down you can see it's exactly the same. I'm going to have two columns in my database table. Let's move it up here. We're going to have fruit, so let's put open brackets fruit, and then we have the data type. It's string data, so in SQL it's called varchar data, and we're going to allow a maximum of 20 characters to be used to type the name of the fruit. If the fruit has got 21 characters in its name, it's going to error out. This saves space in the database and saves RAM as well. It's quite good. So the column name and the data type, then a comma, and then we're going to do quantity as an integer. So how many apples and things like that. So quantity is going to be int. Close brackets. So the syntax for create table, table name, column 1, then it's data type, column 2, then it's data type, column 3, then it's data type, then we finish it with the closed brackets, then we finish with a semicolon. If I've only got two columns in this table. Fruit has got varchar data type with 20 characters as maximum. Quantity of fruit is the second column heading, and that uses integer data types. When I press enter it says query OK, and then we're going to insert rows. So we need apples, oranges and bananas, and for that I'm going to use this insert statement. So insert into table name values, then open brackets, column 1 value, comma, column 2 value, comma, column 3 value, then eventually close brackets and a semicolon. Insert into fruit bowl values, open brackets, apples is going to be the first fruit. Now you do need to remember that any varchar data needs to be in single quotes, unlike Visual Basic, which uses double quotes for string data. Single quotes for SQL. And then we're going to have, how many apples do we want? 45, so we'll put 45 in there. Close brackets. Semicolon is the end of line, and it says that's okay. I'm going to use the up on the keyboard, the up arrow on the keyboard, and it copies the line. And this time I'm going to put oranges. And I've got 33 oranges I want to put into my fruit bowl. Close brackets, semicolon. It doesn't like that. As you can see, I've missed a comma, so I'm going to go up again and put in the missing comma. Each item of data has got to be separated by a comma. That's fine. And then I've got bananas. So again, the upper arrow to copy. This time I'm going to put in bananas. Comma 22, close brackets, semicolon. So the integer data type, we don't need any speech marks, but the speech marks are single quotes. That's the only thing we need to remember, and the semicolon is the line ender in SQL syntax. That's an insert statement. So now we've entered 3 rows, we're going to select the data. So the keyword to select or view the data is select. Select star selects all the columns, so the star means everything from table name, and if we only want specific columns we can name them as long as they're separated by a comma. So let's try that. Select everything from fruit bowl, and it outputs the data. Now this doesn't look particularly exciting, but you've got to remember what happens is this data is normally set up on a web server, a computer which is always switched on and allows incoming connections and hosts websites. So this could actually be sitting behind a web page which actually displays this data with nice colour scheme and looking really nicely on a website. And that's how SQL data is normally used. All we need to know for this part of the course is how to actually insert the data and set the data up logically. And the HTML and the website will actually manage how it's actually displayed on the page to look good. So we're not quite happy with that, because each good database programmer will set an ID column for each table in their database. An ID column is used as the primary key. It's called the primary key because it uniquely identifies each row in the database. If you're looking at a running race and runner 11 is Mo Farah and runner 17 is Paula Radcliffe, then if you look through binoculars and you see a 17 and you can't tell who it is, you look up in the database and that 17 tells you who's running and what nationality and everything else about the person. So if the 17 came off that person and actually was detached from that person, you wouldn't know who it was. So the ID is usually used as a primary key value which uniquely identifies all the data. If you actually call this column a primary key column and set it to auto increment, that'll do 2 things. Firstly, it'll make sure that each runner has a number, and also each runner can't lose their number, and you can never have 2 runners number 17, so you will never find duplicates. It won't allow duplicate values. So here I am typing my create table statement for the runners table. I'm creating runner ID as an integer, and I'm going to make it primary space key, and I'm going to do auto underscore increment. Now what auto increment does is if the first row runner ID was 1, then you inserted the next row and you used the default keyword for the ID column, then that would be, it would automatically make that ID number for the second row number 2, and if you did the same again for the third row, it would make the third row ID 3 and so on forever. So it automatically gives it the next number in the sequence. The primary key keyword makes sure that there are no duplicate values in the first column and that there are no missing values in the first column. Then we're going to do a comma, and then we're going to do full name is varchar, and we're going to allow 20 characters for that, and nationality is going to be varchar, let's allow 15 characters. Close brackets to end the statement and semicolon to end the line. and that's the create table statement. So we're going to do the insert statements now. So insert into runners, that's the table name, values, open brackets. I'm going to do 11 is going to be Mo Farah, comma, UK, close brackets, semicolon, up arrow, to change this to 12, comma, these are real runners and they've won prizes for, I think it's the 10,000 metres. Let's put his surname, Vikali, and he's from Kenya, and close brackets, semicolon, and the last one is runner number 17, Paula Radcliffe, and she's from the UK. The select statement selects the data, so let's see if it's worked. Select star to select all columns from runners, and it works. And if we then change it from select, let's specify the columns, full name, from runners, where nationality equals UK in quotes, then it pulls out just the runners we're after. So the where clause pulls out certain runners in order. We can also do order by full name. Now what that's done is it puts it in alphabetical order. M is before P in the alphabet, so if we repeat that and take off order by full name and put DESC, that's descending order instead of ascending order, so it puts Paula in front of Mo. So order by is a way of ordering in alphabetical order or numerical order if you're using a number variable. Now going back to why the primary key is important, if you have lots of values, we were looking at Amazon and pens, then you need to keep track of each item as a unique item. And you'll find in Amazon in their product details, the ASIN number is a unique number to Amazon. So this is the primary key of their database, and this unique code is specifically for this product. So these pens bought from this manufacturer, that's the ID number which identifies uniquely those pens in the Amazon database. And each of their millions of products are actually allocated a unique number. In a school database, each student's allocated a unique student number. So you do get databases using primary keys for each table. Each table in a database normally has its own primary key, and it's good practice to use that. The other thing I wanted to show you is how the default keywords works for auto increment. So if you remember, we've used primary key auto increment, and I'm going to just finish off by adding a new row. Let's go back to here, insert into running values. I'm going to put the keyword default here, then a comma, Joe Smith, and nationality is going to be UK, close bracket, semicolon, and then if we do our select statement, if I do select star from runners, Joe Smith's the next number in the sequence. So the default keyword, if you don't specify an ID and you just put default, it knows the biggest ID number in the sequence and it just finds the next one. So instead of running 17, it makes number 18. And if we inserted in again somebody else, and did another select star from runners, then basically that's found number 19. And now I'm going to change the select statement to order by full name, and if you don't put DESC, it's ascending order, so it's ordering them by alphabetical order of full name, from A to Z rather than Z to A.